Welcome everybody to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili, and today I have a underrated album by a popular band, and that is the Cars Panorama from 1980. Now before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, I recently did a video on Weezer's Pinkerton album, their second album, and that album was pretty much an underrated album where it didn't really exactly set the world on fire. It was kind of panned by critics, but it gained kind of some cult status or recognition, and it was pretty much loved by fans, and it kind of inspired me to do this kind of video of taking albums from a popular band from their catalog and just picking, I guess, the Misfit album, which didn't really quite culturally make an impact or per se compared to their a band's catalog where they have all these great albums, and there's always that one album that kind of is like the black sheep. And for the Cars, I felt like Panorama was that album, and it happens to be my favorite album. It always seems to be these albums that are kind of overlooked. They seem to be the albums that I kind of gravitate towards. Now, this being their third album after two successful albums, the Cars, the debut album, which had Best Friend's Girl on there and Just What I Needed. The follow-up was the Candio album, which had, what was that? Let's Go. And the album after this was Shake It Up, which was had some singles out there as well. Now this did have some singles on here, but they weren't really successful. Touch and Go being one of them, and Give Me Some Slack. Touch and Go went to number 37, and I don't even think Give Me Some Slack even charted, or even Don't Tell Me No. Now, they did release, this is a single sleeve original 1980 version of the album, but then I have the 2017 one here, and it is a double. It's an expanded edition with the gatefold. Really nice. And it has three sides on here, and one being a side 4 with the etching of, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's the checkerboard flag of the cover. It says Panorama on there. And they add 3 extra songs that were previously unreleased from these sessions, and a B-side, which is the song Don't Go to Pieces, which is a B-side to Don't Tell Me No and Give Me Some Slack. So they had 2 singles in here, and they used the same B-side. And also included in this edition is some more photos, some liner notes here from Greg Hawkes from the band, and he kind of talks about this detour they took from their third album, just going way experimental, which was really cool. Started using sequencers a lot, going into industrial music. Now this is 1980, mind you, and that would be their album closer, Up and Down. And they also did started using drum machines, and so they're just doing all kinds of different things on here. They're also when he talks about Touch and Go, he says here that even the album's most notable single, Touch and Go, has a quirky, syncopated feel to it. The verses in particular have an odd combination of a 5/4 time signature in the drums and bass, and 4/4 time in the keyboards and guitars, and somehow they all meet up in the chorus. So they're doing all these different kinds of things, even musically, and the composition and whatnot, and the kind of write them off as a band that's just, you know, kind of one dimensional, and, you know, they're not real musicians like a Emerson, Lake and Powell band, Palmer band, or something, or ELP or Rush. You know, they are really going into their craft here. And speaking of Rush, you know, Alex Lifeson, um, you know, when they started putting in keyboards and synthesizers in their 80s stuff, mid 80s stuff, he said as a guitar player he was very frustrated in trying to find a place to put his guitars and his guitar parts in there, because Geddy's keyboards and whatnot were just taking over, and he was very frustrated. Whereas Elliot Easton and Greg Hawkes, they just know how to work together. And a lot of these songs, especially on this album, are heavily keyboard laden and synthesizers and guitar. I mean, there's a marriage of the two where one is not overpowering the other. There's like an equality here with guitar and keyboards, which is really cool. And even songs like Down Boys, you know, where Elliot has like two guitar leads on there, and he just actually, I guess they're he was used to having a keyboard player the whole time in a band, that they've worked so well with each other, and maybe that's why it's second nature to him. Whereas I guess someone like Alex Lifeson from Rush is getting frustrated over there, because you know, I mean, it was maybe it was too new, and he had to just, like he said, had to try to find a place for his guitar. Where I think I guess it just has to be in the sense with the Cars, that they just know how to work well together. And the guitar leads on here are great. Even Greg Hawkes here says that even the Touch and Go solo was his favorite on here. And another thing about the Touch and Go song, it talks about John Lennon, because he was assassinated in 1980, December 8th. And some of his last interviews, he's talking about the Cars, and he's talking about the song Touch and Go, how they have a great way of marrying rock's past and present. And that's interesting, because this music doesn't really sound dated, as far as like there's 80s type of recording techniques, you know, and just like the reverb gated drum sound that, you know, Phil Collins came up with, and the gated reverb, you know, and it has that 80s thing to it. Like, okay, that's the 80s. Whereas this one doesn't have that, you know. It has a classic sound, and it holds up today, you know. So it's really cool. And so the intro on here too, Panorama, compared to the other two songs that started off the first album, and Candio, which were kind of easy to digest, great kind of poppy rock songs. Panorama is just like out there in left field. It's like, what the hell is this? And a lot of the songs on here, they don't sound like they're from the same session. They all sound like they're all coming from spare parts from something else, but they're not, which is odd. And they work together somehow. They're all cohesive. And I mean, I've heard this album, you know, for years, and up and down the last song, the industrial song here, it always seemed like it was a song that should have been in the middle somewhere, like a weird deep cut, because they all kind of sound like deep cuts too. However, it just ended so abruptly, and you just kind of felt like, there was something missing. And so I'm glad that they put these other songs on here on side three: Shooting for You, Be My Baby, The Edge, and Don't Go to Pieces. And it has more of a completion to it. Um, I mean, I could hear it up to those 10 songs, but then adding these other four is really cool. And I suggest, yeah, if you're a fan of this album, to hunt down and get this Rhino edition with the extra tracks, because even those songs are in it on itself. They all sound like weird deep cuts, but it just kind of adds more to the legacy of this album. This is you know um, a great detour which they took. And like I said, if you hear the album after this with Shake It Up and everything, they still kind of, because of this album, they still kind of touch on some experimental stuff. And it's very subtle. It's not overt as this one is. However, if you just want to just listen to an album where you just kind of just blown away, and that would be from the Cars, I would highly recommend Panorama. So leave me a comment below. What are your thoughts on Panorama, the um, underrated album by the popular band, popular artists, and from their catalog, the Misfit album? Leave me a comment below. What are your thoughts on it? And with that, I'll shut up and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.